During the math class, Mrs. Stevens had a task for the students. They had to say, what was 3 plus 3 times 3? 2 people raised their hands, and she asked both. Toby said that the answer was 18. Cassidy disagreed and said that the answer was 12. Who is right? Cassidy. The multiplication is always done first, so we multiply 3 by 3, that's 9. Then we add another 3 and get 12. It takes Genevieve 12 seconds to cut one loaf of bread into 5 pieces. How much time does she need to cut the same loaf into 6 pieces? "15 seconds to cut the bread into 5 pieces. She must make 4 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 4 cuts, it means she makes 1 cut in 3 seconds. If she now wants to cut the bread into 6 pieces, she needs to make 5 cuts. And since 5 cuts takes 3 seconds each, the combined time will be 15 seconds. How many years in the 21st century have had 365 days? Some of the years did have 366 days, and still, all of the years have had 365. So starting with 2001, it's been 20 years by now. No time to explain, but Tim needs to break into his mom's computer. The problem is that he doesn't know the passcode, but here's a hint. What's the passcode? Each consonant in the word equals 200 points, and each vowel takes away 100 points. In the word kiwi, there are 2 consonants that make 400 points. 2 vowels take away 200 points, so the passcode is 200. Lucas and Liam went for a walk. They found a cool tree and decided to climb up to the top of it. Who is less smart? Lucas. The branch he's going to use is about to crack. He's in for a nasty fall. Michael and Logan are bloggers. To boost their popularity, they decided to take selfies in dangerous places. Michael is taking a selfie while surfing a huge wave, and Logan is taking one standing on the edge of a bridge. Who is in greater danger? Michael. Logan at least has some people around. They'll notice if something happens and call the emergency services. Michael is alone. Thomas and Abigail were going on a date. Thomas arrived half an hour earlier and decided to go and buy some flowers. Abigail had just returned from London and was driving to meet the guy. Who is doing something wrong? Abigail. She's driving on the left side of the road. Elizabeth and Melanie are getting ready for a barbecue party in the garden. Elizabeth is cooking and Melanie is decorating the garden. Who is not smart? Elizabeth. While she's cooking, the meat is going bad in the sun. It was June, and students were going to have their most difficult exam. Each of them was assigned to a particular seat, but a professor was paying special attention to one of the students. He supposed they were going to cheat. Who was his suspect and why? It's this blonde girl. In June, the weather is great and all students are lightly dressed. And still, this girl is wearing high boots and a sweater with long sleeves. Ella got a new motorbike. She locked it in her garage and left for work. When she came back home and opened the garage, the motorbike was missing. The woman called the police. The officer interrogated 3 of her neighbors. Ryan said that he'd been away the whole day and hadn't seen anything. Colin said, "When I was walking the dog, the motorbike was still there." Jane said that she had come to Ella's house to ask her for some garden tools, but Ella hadn't been there, so she'd left. Who stole the motorbike? It was Colin. He said he'd seen the motorbike in the garage, but the door was closed, so he couldn't possibly spot the bike. Look at the sequence of letters. What should be the next one? Each of these letters is the first letter of some day of the week. S stands for Sunday, M for Monday, and then we've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The only one that's left is Saturday, so we need an S. Mark was locked in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but none of them looked safe. Behind the first door, there was a huge and strong guard. Behind the second door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Behind the third door, there were many little robots that were ready to charge at Mark at any second. Which way should the guy opt for to get out and stay safe? I'd say the third one. Although there are angry little robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause much harm. Emily woke up in a weird place she'd never been before. She looked around and saw 3 ways out. But there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was an iron block with a motion sensor that would crush everyone who entered the room. Behind the second door, there was an electric shock device that never missed. Behind the third door, there was broken glass all over the floor. Which way should Emily choose? She should pick the third door. She's wearing boots, so walking on the glass is definitely not going to be too hard of a task for her. Stella called the police and said that her friend had been poisoned. She told them what happened. I was supposed to meet with Alice, but I arrived too early. So I went to pick her up at her house. I knocked, but no one answered the door. The light was on, so I knew Alice must be at home. I had a spare key, so I opened the door myself. I found her in the room unconscious with an empty glass by her side. The police officer asked if Stella had touched anything. The girl said she had only touched the door, the glass, and her friend. After that, she got arrested. Why? She said the lights had been on, but she didn't say anything about touching the light switch. But when the police entered the house, the lights were off. Mrs. Donnell reported that she'd been robbed. She said, I was in the restaurant's bathroom fixing my makeup when someone approached me from behind and hit me on the head. I didn't see what this person looked like. The police sent the woman home and refused to fill the report. Why? The woman was fixing her makeup. This means she was looking in the mirror. If someone had tried to approach her from the back, she would have definitely seen this person. But she said she hadn't. She probably made the whole story up. A cleaning man was washing the windows in an office building and fell from the 3rd floor. Everyone agreed it must have been an accident. Luckily, Detective Callum was nearby. Once he came closer and saw what had happened, he concluded that it couldn't have been an accident. Someone pushed the man out of the window. How did he understand it? Look, the window the guy fell out of is now closed. If it had been just an accident, the window would still remain open. Sophia and Brooke went camping in the forest. Who is less smart? Brooke. Look, she's wearing heels. Nicole and Kate are late for work. They're both driving fast, breaking the speed limit. Which of them is in greater danger? Kate. She has many things lying around in her car. In case of an accident, something is likely to hit her. Jessica and Margot are jaywalking. Jessica is listening to music and Margot is texting her friend. Who is in greater danger? Jessica. Although they're both breaking the rules, Margot is doing it in a place where she can be easily noticed by drivers, and Jessica is jaywalking right where the road takes a turn. Drivers might not have enough time to react and stop. Allison and Maddie are doing housework. Allison is hanging the laundry outside, and Maddie is vacuum cleaning the basement. Who is less smart? Allison. She's hanging the laundry outside, but it's raining. After Theodore was shipwrecked, he found himself on a deserted island. Luckily, he still had his pills. There were 2 green and 2 yellow ones left. He needed to take 1 green and 1 yellow pill every day. The problem was that the man couldn't see anything at all and couldn't tell the color of the pills. There wasn't a soul around to help him. How can he manage it? Theodore should break each of the 4 pills into half and eat half of each of the 4. This way, he'll eat exactly 1 green and 1 yellow pill. Camilla and Vivian are sisters. For her birthday, Vivian got a beautiful bracelet. Camilla liked it too and occasionally borrowed it. One day, Vivian noticed that the bracelet was gone again. She knocked on her sister's door.
Oh, no.
Camilla opened it, saw Vivian, shut the door again, and locked it. Half a minute later, Vivian broke into the room and started searching for the bracelet, but she didn't find anything. Then she realized where the accessory was. Have you figured it out? Vivian remembered that when Camilla first opened the door, she had her hair down, but now she has her hair up. She has put her hair in a bun and hid the bracelet there. Who is wanted? The girl on the right. She has the same mole as the girl on the poster. Who is an identity thief? It's the man on the right. His real ID is sticking out of his backpack, which means he must be showing a fake ID. Who is an imposter? The girl on the left. The script she's reading is turned upside down. It means she only pretends to be an actress. Who is the real thief? Both of these men are thieves. While one man is distracting the girl, the other is preparing to steal her phone. The last will of Mr. Wilson, a rich businessman, got stolen. There were 5 people in the house at that moment: Mr. Wilson's wife, their cook, butler, maid, and gardener. They all told the detective what they'd been doing that evening. Mrs. Wilson was sitting by the fireplace embroidering. The cook was making breakfast. The butler was supervising several workers in the living room. The maid was sweeping the floors in the hallway. The gardener was watering the plants in the greenhouse. Right after this conversation, the detective arrested the thief. Who is the culprit? And how'd the detective figure it out? The cook is the thief. He said he'd been preparing breakfast, but the crime happened in the evening. Lily owned a flower store. One day, she got a call from the police. They told her that her shop had been robbed. When she arrived, shards of glass were on the ground near the store, and the pots and plants inside were broken. The police questioned 3 suspects. Jacob, Lily's ex, said, "I was in a hurry and didn't notice that the windows were broken when I was passing by the store. I only realized what had happened when the police called me." Camille, Lily's friend, said, "Lily asked me to help her with something in the store. When I arrived, everything had already been broken. I called the police immediately." Matt, Lily's ex-coworker, said, "I was walking nearby and I saw someone breaking a window and sneaking into the shop. I left my phone at home, so I ran to the police station. Can you guess who's lying? Matt is lying. Shards of glass were laying on the ground, which meant that the criminal had to break the window from the inside. Let's take a little break. Now, you need to think fast. Mary's mom has 4 daughters. One daughter is called April, the second is named May, and the third daughter is June. What's the fourth daughter's name? It's Mary, of course. Who doesn't belong to this list? Napoleon Bonaparte, Queen Elizabeth, William Shakespeare, Sherlock Holmes, Aristotle, Christopher Columbus, Donald Trump. Sherlock Holmes. He's the only fictional character on the list. 8 girls are in the house and each of them is busy with something. The first one is cooking dinner. The second one is lighting the fireplace. The third girl is playing chess. The fourth one is reading a book. The fifth girl is drawing a picture. The sixth is cleaning up the house. The seventh girl is watering the plants. What is the 8th girl doing? She's playing chess with the third girl. One woman turned 40 in 1850, but in 1860 she was 30 years old. How could this happen? This could only happen if 1860 was earlier than 1850, which means that the woman turned 40 in 1850 BCE and 30 in 1860 BCE. An artist was walking in the park when it suddenly started raining. He had neither a hat nor an umbrella to cover his head. He also couldn't hide under a tree because the downpour was too heavy, and still, not a single hair on his head got wet. How can that happen? The artist was bald. Now let's get back to our detective riddles. Robert won $1 million in the lottery. He decided not to tell anyone about this, including his wife. At home, he put his money in a safe hidden behind a painting. The next day, the money disappeared. The police invited all the suspects for questioning. Emily, Robert's wife, said, "In the morning, I went to my husband's home to clean up there. The safe was open and there was nothing inside." James, Robert's business partner, said, "Poor Robert, he always wanted to win a lottery. I stayed at home all day and yesterday and watched TV." And Mark, Robert's friend, said, "I was at the gym last night, then I went home. I can't imagine why anyone would do this." The police arrested the thief. Can you guess who it was? Robert's business partner did this. Robert didn't tell anyone that he'd won the lottery. His wife noticed an empty safe when she entered the office, but she didn't know what was inside. Marina was participating in a figure skating championship. She was a very strong competitor, and many people believed she could win. When the time for a warm-up ran out, all the participants started preparing for the performance. Marina was the first. She was amazing, but suddenly she tripped, fell down, and broke her leg, which made her unable to continue. The investigation revealed that someone had ruined her skates. The police interviewed 3 suspects. Anna said, "I didn't do anything, but I saw Jacqueline and Kate walking into the locker room before Marina's performance. They're the ones who ruined her skates." Jacqueline said, "Yes, I indeed went into the locker room to take my things, but I didn't see Kate there." And Kate said, "Yeah, that's because I've been practicing in the gym until it was my turn. Besides, Anna is lying. I saw her in the locker room." Can you guess who's lying? Kate. She couldn't train in the gym because the time for the warm-up had been over by the time the competition started. Here's what happened. Kate went into the locker room and ruined Marina's skates. Jacqueline came into the locker room after her, and that's what Anna saw. Jane is afraid that she might have a stalker. She brought some photos of herself and her friends to the police. The police immediately found the culprit. Who is Jane's stalker? Jane's friend Mike. He's the only one who is present in all the photos, and sometimes he even tries to conceal his identity. The investigation didn't have enough evidence to prove the suspect was guilty. Detective Reed decided to investigate their house, hoping to find some clues, and he actually did find something. He discovered a secret room. However, it had a combination lock and the word "idea" written above it. Do you have any idea what the code might be? "9451. The code is the number of each of the letters in the alphabet. The door opened to the suspect's secret office. At first glance, there is nothing suspicious inside. A table with a book in the middle, some dusty furniture, and a picture on the wall. The detective examined the painting and found a safe with a 3-digit code behind it. Next to it, there was a note with a hint: P270L7-8. Can you guess what the detective needs to do next? The detective realized that the note meant page 270, lines 7 to 8. He should check out the book on the table. The detective found the necessary lines on page 270. They read, "After wandering through the desert for 4 days and 3 nights, I came across a couple of travelers. They fed me and gave me one of their camels." This is a clue that can help crack the code to the safe. What is it? "721. 4 days and 3 nights makes 7. A couple of travelers is 2. And don't forget about 1 camel." The detective opened the safe and found the evidence that proved that the suspect was guilty. In the middle of the night, someone stole a unique artifact from a museum. The museum guard claimed it had been a robber. Detective Reed arrived at the crime scene immediately and questioned the guard. The man said, I was walking around the museum. Suddenly I saw a dark shadow. I called out to them, but they didn't respond." But Detective Reed noticed that something was wrong with this story. Can you guess what it is? There are only one person's footprints on the floor. If there was the guard and the criminal in the museum, shouldn't there be 2 sets of footprints? Detective Reed asked the guard what he did next. The man said, "I ran after the thief and saw them break the glass door and steal the artifact. The alarm didn't go off, as they had probably turned it off." Is the guard telling the truth? The door is indeed broken, but it's also open. It can only be opened with a key. It looks like someone opened the door to prevent the alarm from going off, and then broke the glass to hide the traces. The detective asked the man what had happened next. The guard said, "I ran up to the criminal and tried to stop them, but they sprayed something in my eyes, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I immediately called the police." Is he telling the truth? His eyes look totally fine. The robbery happened just a few hours ago. If the guard was telling the truth, his eyes would at least look red. He must be lying. The guard turned out to be the thief and was arrested. Hey, I'll be showing you some logos. All you need to do is spot the correct one. We'll have 4 rounds with 20 logos each. Keep the score and let me know in the comments. Ready, steady, go! You may see it at least once a week, but can you instantly guess what logo is correct? This spark is the Walmart logo, and it's on the right. This one is easy peasy. Which one is the correct Nutella logo? Right, it's on the left. And what about Chupa Chups? Right here. Hey, did you know that Salvador Dali invented the world-famous lollipop logo? Up for some coffee? Starbucks, what do you say? Here it is. Oh, I love chocolate. Can you spot the correct Dove logo? It's the left one. Which Lay's logo is the original one? Here's the right one. Do you remember the right Mars logo? Here it is. Next up is Coke. Time to choose. It's the right one. What about M&M's? Where's the correct one? It's the one on the right. Hershey's, can you spot the correct logo? Right, this one. I know, this one was pretty tough. You know this one for sure. It's Pepsi. And the original one? Right, it's on the right. And what about Mountain Dew? It may seem that the left one is the original logo, but nope, it's on the right. Dr. Pepper, what do you think? Okay, time's up. It's right here. Tell me what one is the original Haribo logo. It's this one, on the left. I bet you've eaten Oreo cookies. Can you find the logo? It's this one on the right. Do you love ketchup on your French fries? Then what's the original Heinz logo? It's tricky, but it's the one on the left, of course. Another hard one for you. Don't lose hope. Dunkin' Donuts. The right one. And what about coffee bean and tea leaf? It's on the left. Don't forget to stay hydrated. Now tell me, which one is the original Aquafina logo? Sure, it's on the right. The last one in the food category, Lipton, is a well-known brand. Do you spot the correct logo? Well done, it's right here. Next round, are you into movies? Let's see if you can remember some of the most famous logos. Let's start with something that's everyone's favorite. What's the correct Simpsons logo? This one right here. Which one is the correct Titanic logo? It's on the left. The original font was gold. And what about the Hunger Games? Right, this one was gold too. You're doing great. Do you remember what the Shrek logo looks like? Right, the S has some ogre's ears. Well done. I know you'll nail this one. Spot the correct Batman logo. This one was a piece of cake. It only has two colors, black and yellow. Can you find the correct Marvel logo? It's on the right. Now be attentive. Do you spot the correct Monsters, Inc. logo? Yeah, it wouldn't be the same without the I on the letter M. Hardcore flashbacks. Tom and Jerry. Which one is it? There might be a trap. Don't fall for it. Ah, here it is. Okay, the movie section just won't work without Spider-Man. Which one is the original logo? It's on the right. Jurassic Park. Where's the correct logo? Well done! What's the original The Lion King logo? It's the right one, of course. Which Star Wars logo is the real one? Now that's the one. This one is harder, but where is the Lord of the Rings logo? Right here. Futurama, what do you think? It's the left one. What do you say here? Where's the right Family Guy logo? Yeah, this one. One of them is the X-Men logo. Go ahead. Now that's the one. Something for you to recognize. SpongeBob. Here's the original. Can you spot the correct Nickelodeon logo here? It's on the left, of course. The movie section is almost over. Let's hit the last one here. Which one is the original Avatar logo? Well done. Hey, we still have many logos ahead. Round 3, computer games. You either love it or doesn't matter. I bet you've played it at least once. Now spot the original Sims logo. Well done! What about the Electronic Arts logo? Look here, it's on the left. And what about Lineage 2? Where's the correct one? It's the one on the right. PlayStation, can you spot the correct logo? Right, this one. I know, this one was pretty tough. Mine and Craft. Craft and Mine. This one's easy. The original Minecraft logo is on the left. This game has over 100 million registered users worldwide. I know you can spot the right logo. Okay, the Hearthstone logo is right here on the left. What about Dota 2? Yeah, this one's easy. Only one Fallout logo is correct. Be attentive, this one's tricky. Well done. The correct logo is on the right. Can you recognize the original Mortal Kombat logo? Right here. Fruit Ninja, any ideas? Right, the fruit font is colorful and the ninja font is silver. Homescapes, ever played? Only one logo is correct. Look here, it's on the left. What are your thoughts? Where's the actual Flappy Bird? Here it is. Not that recognizable, but still. Can you spot the correct Sonic Dash logo? Streams can be fun, right? Now show me the original Twitch logo. It's on the left. Well done. Couple more. Genshin Impact. What do you say? It's on the right. What about Skyrim? Here it is. Which Fortnite logo is the real one? No doubt it's here on the left. Tell me which one is the original Overwatch logo. Well done. Have you ever played Destiny 2? No? Try to find the original logo. All right, time's up. It's right here on the left. And what about Rocket League? 3, 2, 1. The original logo is on the left. Round 4, cars. Any thoughts about Dodge? Right here. Do you remember the logo of Chrysler? It's the right one, of course. Good old Ford. Can you recognize its original logo? Sure, the background color is blue. It can't be any other color. And what about Chevrolet? That's right, it's on the left. The main color is gold, and the rim is silver, and not vice versa. Now show me the correct Jeep logo. Come on, this one's simple. It's all about colors again. The correct one is green. Can you spot the original Tesla logo? This one's tricky. The correct one is on the right. Let's move on. Now let's see if you can remember what the Mercedes logo looks like. Here it is. Any ideas about BMW? Yeah, it has some blue color in it, not red. Volkswagen. Which one do you choose? It's on the right. Well done. The left one seems to be upside down. Porsche. Which one? Right here. Audi. What's your call? It was easy. The original Audi logo has 4 rings. And do you remember the original Bentley logo? It's on the right, of course. B stands for Bentley, and the one on the left doesn't look right. You must know it. What's the correct Toyota logo? It's the right one. No one promised it to be easy. Mitsubishi. What's your guess? Now that's the one. It has only 3 elements in it. Honda. Any ideas? This one. Well done. Only 5 logos left. You can do it. Bonjour. Croissant. Citroën. Can you recognize this French car logo? It's right here. What are your thoughts? Where's the Peugeot logo? That's the original. Renault. Do you think you know the one? Pick the right one. Almost there. What about the Cadillac logo? The original logo is on the left. Make your choice with the Ferrari logo. That's easy. It's here. Hey, well done. What's your score? Let me know in the comments. Mike has recently left his job. He's looking for a new, more exciting one. But so far, all his attempts have brought 0 results. Can you tell how many job interviews he has failed by looking at his apartment? Take a look at this schedule on the wall. In the previous month, Mike marked all working days with green color, and the weekends were red. At that time, he most likely still had his job. And the current month has 6 stickers with the letter I. Mike has most likely attended 6 interviews. Mike was losing hope when he found a weird letter in his mailbox. An elegant little note said, "If you manage to figure out our phone number, call us. We'll offer you a dream job." Can you help Mike see the number? It's 713819. Mike called this number. A mysterious voice asked him to solve a riddle. I make 2 people out of 1. What am I? In a minute, Mike received an official invitation to his dream job interview. What did he answer? A mirror. When Mike arrived at the meeting location, he found a large, gloomy building in the middle of nowhere. The door slammed shut behind the guy's back as soon as he got inside. Mike found himself in a hallway with 3 doors. He noticed a boat, an insect spray, and an astronaut suit on the floor. The same mysterious voice said, "You can choose only 1 tool and 1 door. Good luck." There are venomous spiders behind the first door. A hungry lion is waiting behind the second door. And finally, there's a swamp emitting toxic fumes behind the third door. What should Mike choose to pass this test and stay alive? He should pick the astronaut suit and the first door. Spiders won't be able to bite through the suit. In the next room, the voice offered Mike to have a coffee break, but the guy had to choose wisely because only 1 type of snack was safe to eat. Can you help Mike pick the right food? There are human nails in the cupcakes and cockroaches in these chips. The color of the meat in this burger is very suspicious. This sushi set looks rather edible, but its smell attracts too many flies. Mike should choose these donuts. They look fresh and appetizing. The cafeteria was filled with people. The voice told Mike to find a thief among them. Can you help Mike get some bonuses for his attentiveness? This woman over there is the thief. She's hiding spoons in her pocket. After lunch, Mike headed for the next room, but before the guy got inside, he had to solve a riddle to open the door. Some will use me, others will not. Some remember me, others forget. I can't be picked up off the ground or tossed into the sea. You can only gain me with time. What am I? The correct answer is knowledge. Mike entered a beautiful party hall filled with people in costumes and masks. The voice told Mike to go find one ghost, one zombie, and one thief among these people. Look at this crowd very attentively. Can you see them? The guy over there doesn't seem to have legs, and he's levitating. He must be a ghost. Look at this woman's food. Only zombies would eat that. And the woman over there is the thief. Her diamond ring doesn't fit her finger. Also, the ring is very similar to this lady's jewelry set. Mike tried to open the next door and receive a new question immediately. I look flat, but I'm deep. Hidden realms I shelter. Lives I take, but food I offer. At times I am beautiful. I can be calm, angry, and turbulent. I have no heart, but I offer pleasure and freedom. No man can own me, yet I encompass what all men must have. What am I? Mike solved this riddle and entered the next room. Have you figured out the answer too? The correct answer is, I'm the ocean. Mike saw the next door, but whatever he did, he couldn't open it. He spotted an electronic lock on the door and a map of a maze on the wall. The voice said that Mike must solve the riddle to open the door. Can you help? If you go through the maze from start to finish, you'll get 6251. This is the code. When Mike finally entered the room, he saw a locked safe. The voice said that Mike's task was to open the safe. What buttons should he press? The puzzles present three colors: pink, white, and brown. Mike pressed the correct buttons and unlocked the safe, but he only found one small coin inside. The next room was empty, except for an old vending machine in the corner. Mike came closer and noticed a small key inside the machine. Suddenly, the walls began to move. The room was getting smaller and smaller. The voice told Mike to be careful because the vending machine was broken. Some wires were torn and mixed up. Which button should Mike press to get the key out and get out of the room before it's too late? Mike should use the coin from the previous challenge and press the fourth button. Then the voice asked Mike to find the odd image in this pattern. Can you help the guy? The couple over there is different. In another room, Mike met a nice elderly lady, Miss Jason. She was very upset because someone had broken into her apartment. Mike's task was to find the robber. He inspected the crime scene and questioned 3 witnesses. The cleaning lady, Sarah, said that she'd finished her work at 11 p.m. and left. Billy, a passerby, said that he'd seen a suspicious man in a mask in Miss Jason's window. Kelly, the neighbor, was visiting her boyfriend in another city. Who's lying? Billy. He's a passerby and just met Miss Jason. Then how come he knows which window is hers? It got very dark outside, but Mike's weird quest continued. He entered a jewelry store and its owner explained the guy his next task. Someone had broken into the store and taken the most expensive diamond jewelry. But luckily, the robber left their fingerprints on the shards of broken glass. There are 3 suspects: a werewolf, an elf, and a zombie. Can you help Mike find the real robber? It was the elf. He's the only creature among them with human-like fingerprints. Another door led Mike into a creepy lab. There, he saw a mad scientist playing a strange game with his patients. He asked them to choose between 2 pills. One of them was a harmless capsule with vitamins, while the other one was a sleeping pill. Somehow, the scientist managed to get the harmless pill every time he played this game, and his opponents always fell asleep. How was this possible, and what should Mike do to pass this test? Both pills were actually harmless. The scientist added a special substance to the glasses of water he offered his patients to wash down the pills. So, to stay awake, Mike should switch the glasses or simply refuse to drink any water. The next door was locked, but Mike saw 6 buttons with the images of a candle, fire, gloves, scissors, an apple, and a light bulb. The voice said, "I was carried into a dark room and set on fire. I wept, and then my head was cut off. What am I?" 1 minute later, Mike was already walking towards his next challenge. What button did he press to open the door? The button with the candle on it. Suddenly the lights went out. Mike slipped and fell into a swimming pool. Someone turned the light on again and Mike saw 3 identical ladies in the pool. All 3 of them looked like ordinary women and claimed to be human. But in reality, 2 of them are mermaids. How can Mike find the real woman among them? He can dive and find the one without a tail. The mermaids told Mike that they wouldn't let him out of the pool until he solved another riddle. "I'm so fast you can't see me, although everyone else can see straight through me. I'm with you until your last breath. What am I?" Can you help Mike solve this riddle and escape? The correct answer is the blink of an eye. The mermaids let Mike go, and he entered the next room. On a huge screen, there were 2 guys. The first one was taking a selfie with a tornado. The second one was standing under an umbrella in the middle of a thunderstorm and taking pictures. Mike had to decide whose behavior is riskier. The tornado is very close. Therefore, the first guy is in greater danger. At the same time, the second guy will have enough time for another couple of shots. In the next room, Mike saw 5 zombies behind bars. All those guys were suspected of stealing a car. Mike had to decide which of them was the thief. Have you guessed? The guy on the left is sweating a lot, and zombies don't sweat and don't drive cars. He must be the thief. He's just wearing zombie makeup. Mike entered a kitchen. His task was to decide how many people lived in the house. Can you guess? Three people. There are 3 different drinks on the table and 3 chairs. Now look at this bathroom. How many people live in this apartment? Just 1. Take a look at this lonely toothbrush. And how many people live in this place? Two people. Look at the family portrait. Mike saw 3 musicians rehearsing for a performance in a garage. The voice announced his next task: to find 1 suspicious detail. Have you already spotted it? There's something wrong with this fire extinguisher. Finally, Mike found himself in an ordinary street. The voice said they had only one last question. What's the time? Mike had to choose between 3 options: 7 a.m., 3 p.m., or 11 a.m. Can you help Mike figure out the right time? The correct answer is 7 a.m. The streetlights are still on, but the sun is casting shadows from the east. Congratulations, Mike, you're hired.
So Patricia came home after a long day at work. She was exhausted and hungry. On the doormat, she saw a white envelope. The girl picked it up and went inside. Then she carefully opened the letter. "We've got a generous offer," it said. "But to find out more about it, you'll need to call us. Our phone number is made up of only 3 digits, but it's coded. If you crack this code, you're halfway there. 216. One number is correct and well placed. 652. 2 numbers are correct but wrongly placed. 631. Nothing is correct here. 350. 2 numbers are correct but wrongly placed. Can you help Patricia figure out the phone number?" Patricia managed to crack the code. The number was 205. She was a bit nervous, but still dialed it. A strange synthetic voice answered her.
"We invite you to take part in a game. If you win, you'll get $100 million. If you lose, no one will hear from you again. Only your quick thinking and logical skills can help you win. You've got 60 seconds to decide."
Such a sum of money would solve all of Patricia's problems. That's why, despite the scary prospect of disappearing forever, she agreed. As soon as the words "I agree" left her mouth, the girl was teleported into a small room. She was barefoot, dressed in a strange pale blue gown. In the middle, there was a table with different objects lying on top of it.
"Find the answer to the riddle and choose the correct object,"
the same synthetic voice said.
"It's hard when it's dry and soft and smooth when it's wet. What is it?"
Patricia guessed pretty fast that the object she needed was a sponge. She picked it up and put it into her pocket. Now, Patricia needed to get out of there. She noticed a door in the left corner of the room. It was locked, but there was a panel with several buttons on the wall next to it. On each button, there was a picture. Suddenly the voice said, "I'm very large, but I look very small.
Once night falls, I'm admired by many. What am I?"
Patricia pressed the button with a star on it. The door slowly opened. Behind this door, there was a long corridor with 3 other doors. Behind the first one, there was a puddle of toxic liquid that was dangerous to people. Behind the second door, there were hungry crocodiles. And behind the third door, there was a huge abyss. What should Patricia choose? The first door. The girl should throw the sponge on the floor. It will absorb the liquid, and Patricia will be able to get inside. Once she is in the room, the voice said,
"I can howl, I can whistle, I can whisper, I can scream, but I don't speak. What am I?"
Soon the girl figured out that the correct answer was wind. But how could it help her? She looked around and spotted a fan. She turned it on, and a gust of wind blew a white piece of paper into her hands. It read,
"When I point up, it's bright. When I point down, it's dark. What am I?"
The answer is a light switch. Patricia looked around the room and indeed spotted a little light switch hidden in the corner. As soon as she pressed it, a large screen appeared on the wall. Patricia saw 4 people. They were in a grocery store.
"Who stole a watermelon?"
the voice asked. After looking at the picture for a while, Patricia realized it was the man with a soccer ball. He looks as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. The next task appeared on the screen.
"Move only one matchstick to make the equation correct."
Patricia managed to figure out the answer quite fast. The next riddle to appear on the screen was a detective one.
"The police knocked on Dylan's door late in the evening. They had a search warrant. They accused the guy of stealing a big sum of money from a bank. Dylan claimed that he hadn't left the house all day. One of the police officers searched around his living room. What evidence did the police find that led to the man's arrest? The date on the receipt lying on the table. It is the same as the date on the calendar, which means the guy did lie about not leaving his house that day. It was the correct answer, and Patricia was allowed to get into the next room. She saw a bottle with a coin inside. The bottle was plugged with a cork. You need to remove the coin without breaking the bottle or pulling the cork out, the voice instructed her. Patricia didn't need much time to get the coin out. What did she do? She pushed the cork into the bottle and shook the coin out. The task solved, Patricia moved to the next room. The only thing she saw inside was a glass of orange juice on the floor. It seemed to be half full, but the girl had to figure out if it was really so. She wasn't allowed to pour the juice out of the glass or use any measuring tools. Then how could she do it? Patricia tilted the glass until the juice just touched the rim. The bottom of the glass wasn't visible, so the girl concluded that the glass was more than half full. Suddenly, Patricia felt that the floor under her feet gave way. She was falling in the darkness until, ow! The sun was too bright. The girl found herself on the beach. You have to find something and give it to somebody, the voice said. Patricia started looking around and spotted a watch in the sand. Besides her, there were only 3 other people on the beach. Who did the watch belong to? This guy's watch is in his jeans pocket. The tan line on this girl's wrist doesn't match the shape of the watch. It means the watch belongs to this elderly man. Patricia gave him the watch and, in return, received 2 photos. Find 3 differences between these pictures, the voice instructed her. Aha! The cloud on the right is different in the second picture. There are only 2 windows in the basement of the house on the left. And the car's wheels look different too. Patricia walked along the beach. Her next task was to find a thief. They had just stolen a bag from that lady. The girl had 3 suspects. John said it wasn't him because he had been busy jumping on a trampoline. Laura told Patricia she had been drinking her fresh juice at the bar. And Patrick said he'd been selling ice cream. Help Patricia understand who the thief is. It's John. His alibi is fake. The guy wouldn't have been allowed to get on the trampoline because of the age limit. The ice cream guy gave Patricia another pair of images. She had to find 3 differences again. This whale is missing 1 tooth. The octopus in the second picture looks quite sad. And the sea stars are different colors. Suddenly, a guy ran up to Patricia. He said one of his friends had stolen his smartphone. They were all camping on the beach, and each of them had their own tent. The guy, named Lucas, woke up early and went for a swim. When he came back, his phone was gone. Patricia questioned Lucas's friends. George said he woke up very early too, but he was staying in his tent talking to his girlfriend. Liza said she had stayed up late playing a game on her phone. That's why she had just woken up. Kira also claimed that she had been fast asleep when Lucas went swimming. Who took the guy's phone? It was Kira. If she was asleep, how did she know when Lucas went swimming? As soon as Patricia cracked this riddle, the world around her turned dark. In a moment, she found herself in a park. There were many roads in front of her. They were numbered from 1 to 22. To choose the right path, the girl needed to figure out the next number in this sequence.
It was a tough task, but eventually Patricia managed to crack the riddle. These numbers are the only ones that don't have any other vowels but E. The girl walked along road 20. Suddenly, she saw a guy lying on the ground. His bike was in the bushes. Patricia helped him to sit up. The guy, Oliver, told her, "I was cycling through the park when someone threw a stone at me. I fell down and blacked out." Patricia had 4 suspects. Miranda said she had been on a morning run and hadn't seen anything. Ron said he had taken his dog for a walk and they had been in another part of the park. Michael and Amanda said they'd come to have a picnic and had been busy with the food. Who is lying? Miranda. It's evening. How could she have her morning run? Oliver thanked Patricia and handed her a new riddle. She needed to figure out the correct answer. The girl understood pretty soon that the correct answer was 15. She kept walking and soon found herself at a busy crossroads. Several cars had met at an intersection, creating a huge traffic jam.
If one car was removed, the rest of them would be free to move their way. Which car would you get rid of to solve the problem?
The voice asked. However hard she thought, Patricia just couldn't figure out this riddle. She started panicking. Her time was running out. "The blue one!" she shouted. And it was the wrong answer. She felt she was falling, and then nothing. The solution to the problem was to remove the red car.
Take a look at your ears. Aren't they amazing? An average human ear hears frequencies from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. But each person is unique when it comes to the functioning of our sense organs. Some of us struggle to hear neighbors whispering just behind the door. Meanwhile, rare lucky persons have a natural absolute pitch. They can recognize any note in any octave. We suggest you take these cool hearing tests that will help reveal your hidden hearing superpowers. Yes! First of all, let's check where you're currently standing in the frequency spectrum. Put on your headphones and make sure you're in a quiet place with no background noises. If you're surrounded by people, ask them to stay quiet for the next minute. We'll travel across and beyond the human audio spectrum and play some sound frequencies a human ear usually can't perceive. As soon as you notice that your ears begin to hear the sound, stop the video. The number you'll see on the screen is your current result. Ready? Let's go! Great job! Well, are you surprised by the result? If it's higher than average, congratulations! But if not, don't worry. The older people get, the harder it becomes for them to hear high-frequency sounds. This may reduce the ability to hear bird songs and even some consonants like S, H, or F. If the result is very bad, try this test again. Chances are that your headphones can't play the invisible frequencies properly. Or maybe the sound was off at your computer. But if you're perfectly sure that your gadgets are fine, perhaps it would be wise to see a doctor and check your hearing. Now you know your hearing's range. But guess who can hear beyond these limits? Bats, pigeons, elephants, dogs, dolphins, and some other animals. But who do you think is the best listener in the world? Please welcome our champion, a moth. Researchers claim that moths can hear better than anyone else in the world. One study showed that the greater wax moth, also known as Galleria melanella, is capable of hearing frequencies up to 300 kHz. It means that their hearing is 15 times better than humans. And now, let's go ahead and check your potential to develop an absolute musical pitch. This rare superpower is basically the ability of a person to identify or recreate a given musical note without the use of a reference tone. Some of the greatest classical composers, including Beethoven, Chopin, and Mozart, used to have this ability, and it's not so rare in the modern music industry.
Oh yeah.
Studies based on a survey of more than 600 musicians showed that the older people were when they started training, the less likely they were to gain perfect pitch. Meanwhile, the majority of polled musicians who began training by the age of 6 used to have it. And among those who started music classes before the age of 4, some 40% had perfect pitch. Also, you're more likely to develop this ability if at least one of your relatives has it. So, are you ready to challenge your ears? You're going to need to put on your earphones once again. Take a deep breath and don't forget to count the right answers. Here's a small version of a classic piano keyboard. Let's go ahead and refresh your memory. This is what the 12 notes sound like. We'll use this random music to confuse your perception just a little bit. And let's begin the quiz. Try to guess this note. Well, any ideas? It was G. What about this note? C. Focus your ears and let's listen to the next one. Well, it was A. What about this sound? Can you guess it? F. Let's go ahead and recognize this note. A once again. And what can you say about this one? That was F sharp. Here's the next sound. Can you guess the note? B. Any idea what it might be? A sharp, also known as B flat. Next sound. Can you spot the note? C flat. Can you identify this one? G again. Well done. If you've guessed more than 7 notes correctly, maybe it's time for you to run to the nearest musical school and become a famous musician before it's too late. Meanwhile, if your result is between 3 and 6 notes, your musical ear is still quite good. And if you didn't guess a single note, don't be upset. Regular training gets water from a flint. Our next test will reveal both your hearing skills and your knowledge of musical instruments. This game is very easy. Listen to the audio carefully and try to guess the instrument. Don't forget to calculate all the correct answers. Here's the first sound playing. Does it seem familiar? What do you say? It's a French horn playing. What about this melody? Sitar. Next audio. Any ideas? Steel pan. What about this one? Acoustic guitar. Great job. Let's go ahead and spot this instrument. It's a flute. Next audio. Does it sound familiar? Ukulele. Let's explore this mysterious sound. It's called the rain stick. Next instrument. Any ideas? Marimba. Here's the next melody. Does it seem familiar? Organ. Next instrument. Does it sound familiar? Cymbal. What about this one? What do you say? Acoustic guitar? Nope, banjo. You should recognize this one right away. Any ideas? Violin. What about this instrument? What do you say? Just kidding, it's the sound of a purring cat. Let's go ahead and investigate this audio. Harmonica. Any idea what this might be? Kazoo. It looks like a funny little whistle. Next instrument. Have you guessed? It's a lute. What about this one? Maybe electric piano? Nope, it's a harp. Next instrument. Any ideas? This beautiful thing is called kabasa. Next audio. Does it sound familiar? It's a clarinet. You're doing great. We're almost at the finish line, so stay focused and let's listen to the next one. It's a bass guitar. Next audio. Does it sound familiar? Piano. What about this instrument? This sound is called throat singing, and it's made by a singer, not by a musical instrument. Next audio. Have you guessed? Castanets. Any idea what this might be? This is the sound of water glasses. And finally, can you spot this instrument? Does it seem familiar? It's an accordion. And now, let's calculate your score. If you've answered all 25 questions correctly, congratulations, you're a genius. If your score is between 17 and 24, well done. Your ears and knowledge are brilliant. You're either involved in the music industry or you should think about doing so. If you gave from 9 to 16 correct answers, you're doing well. While listening to music, you're probably good at distinguishing the sounds of different instruments. And if you gave less than 9 answers, perhaps it's time to expand your knowledge in this field. You'll be surprised by the variety of musical instruments. In fact, nobody knows for sure the exact number of musical instrument types all over the planet. You can find more than 500 titles in various encyclopedias, but it's far from the actual number. After all, any musical instrument has dozens of different modifications and hundreds of manufacturing variations. To make the process easier, the instruments traditionally fall into one of 6 major categories, depending on the sound source: woodwind, bowed strings, brass, percussion, keyboard, and the guitar family. We're aware that musical instruments have been entertaining people for ages. But what is the oldest musical instrument in the world? So far, this honorary title belongs to the Neanderthal flute. It was made around 60,000 years ago. Contemporary musicians have reconstructed this instrument, and its sound reminds of the modern bamboo flute. But music is not only an entertaining tool, it's also very helpful when you want to relax or focus on your work or studies. The 432 Hz frequency is considered ideal because it resonates with the Schumann resonance of 8 Hz, and it's known for its deeply calming and comforting effects. One study from Italy showed that music tuned to 432 Hz slows down the heart rate when compared to 440 Hz. So be careful with what goes into your ears.
Luna here buys a plot of land with an unfinished house. The previous owner started construction 2 years ago, but he didn't finish it. Luna launches reconstruction, and soon she realizes that the house is haunted. Most ghosts are peaceful, but after a while, some mischievous ghost begins to ruin the house. Luna calls a famous ghostbuster, Phil. He interviews all the ghosts. The handyman ghost says he's been here since the very beginning, because he fell during construction. The ghost doctor says he moved here 6 years ago to hide from people and enjoy silence. And the third ghost used to live in a lake nearby, but then settled here. That was more than a year ago. So, who's lying? The doctor. He says he moved here 6 years ago. But the house itself was built only 2 years ago. Case solved. The local music school is haunted by the ghost of an opera diva. Phil arrives, explores the school, and questions 3 witnesses. The teacher heard the singing from the basement the other day. She went there to check, but it was empty. Nellie, the student, says that he saw the singing ghost in the hallway. And another student, Sam, saw her in the toilet. After hearing their stories, Phil is sure that the students pranked their teacher. Why? Take a closer look at the basement. It's full of dusty stuff. But this smart speaker isn't dusty, which means it was brought here recently. Only students claim to have actually seen the diva ghost. Oh, busted! Phil gets out of the castle and receives a new call. People complain about a ghost on the local pier. Phil arrives at the haunted spot and sees these 3 ladies. Who's the ghost? All 3 are ghosts. If they were living, dense people, their backs would be reflected in the water, not their faces. Phil asks the ghost ladies to leave. 2 of them agree, but the third one escapes to the nearest forest. Phil follows her, but he loses track. Can you help him find her? She's hiding in this puddle. Phil returns home and checks his email. He receives 2 job offers from 2 different ghost-busting agencies. One of them is willing to pay him $1.8 million with an annual increase of $200,000. Another company is offering him a salary of $2 million with no raises. Which job will create more wealth in 3 years? Alright, let's do the math. If Phil picks the first agency, his salary will grow to $2 million in the second year. And in the third year, it will be $2.2 million. So he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. If he picks the second agency, the math is more simple. 3 times 20. And again, he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. However, if Phil picks the first agency, he would earn much more in the fourth year. So the choice is pretty obvious. Phil takes the first job, but first he decides to have a brief vacation in a famous haunted hotel. Unfortunately, someone robs the hotel during his stay. The police officer arrives in the morning and interrogates 3 guests. Phil says, "Sir, there was a heavy snowfall yesterday, so I was in my room all day watching TV." Peter says, "I was feeling sick yesterday. I wasn't in my senses. How could I commit the robbery?" And Bella says, "I returned to the hotel about 10 minutes ago. I don't know anything about the robbery." The officer figures out who committed the robbery right away. What about you? Bella is suspicious. She says she returned 10 minutes ago. But there are no footprints outside the hotel except for the officer's footprints. The next morning, Phil wakes up in a haunted basement. He's starving. Suddenly, a creepy man enters and brings him 4 plates of food. He says that Phil can only choose one dish. What should he choose? There's a bug in the first plate. The second one has an unpleasant smell. And the fourth one has nothing edible left. So Phil should take the third plate. After a while, the local ghost offers Phil a deal. If he solves a riddle, the ghost will help him escape. What phrase is represented by this rebus below? Can you help him out? It means, "I am surrounded by enemies." Phil keeps on chasing the ghost and falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a cave. Phil comes across 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a maze. He will be lost for the rest of his life trying to get through. There's a deep, narrow chasm behind the second door. If Phil steps in, he'll fall into it. There's a zombie behind the third door. He loves feasting on humans. What should Phil do to escape? He should open the second door, then open the third one and quickly hide behind the first door. The zombie would assume that Phil entered the second door and start chasing him. The zombie will fall into the chasm, and Phil will be free to go through the third door. Phil gets out of the trap and returns to the city. He's walking down the street. Suddenly, a pretty lady approaches him and asks to call the police. Someone stole her bag that had millions of dollars. Phil questions her about the thief. She says she was walking down the street when a guy came running from behind. He was wearing gloves and a face mask. He snatched the bag and ran away. She couldn't even see him. Phil asks, "How come you have scratches all over your face?" She replies that she tried to catch him and he scratched her cheek with a golden ring. It was on his right hand. Phil immediately understands that her story is fake. Why? The lady mentioned that the thief was wearing gloves, so he couldn't scratch her with a golden ring. Phil arrives at his new office. His colleagues give him a big welcome cake. He leaves it in the office fridge to drink tea together during lunch hours. He opens the fridge again and sees that someone bit his cake. Phil questions for suspects. Bella says she's been at a business meeting all morning. She hasn't even entered the kitchen today. Sam entered the kitchen only 2 times to use the coffee machine, but he didn't open the fridge. And Hannah says she's on a sugar-free diet. Lily says she was at the dentist all morning, and she just got here. Who's lying? Sam. Take a look at the coffee machine. The sign says that it's broken. Therefore, his entire story is fake. Phil's client sends him 2 pictures of a creepy haunted house. Can you spot 7 differences between them? Here they are. Great job! The next day, Phil goes to check an abandoned castle. He gets trapped in a room with 3 doors through which he can escape, but each way hides some danger. There's a zombie behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a hungry wolf, and a spooky ghost is waiting behind the third door. Which door should he choose? Ghosts tend to scare people, but they are not dangerous, so the third door is the safest option. Phil finds himself in a hallway. The door is closed and the lock appears to be quite complex. Luckily, Phil meets the local guardian ghost. He shows Phil 3 keys. One of them will certainly unlock the door. However, if Phil uses the wrong key, he'll stay trapped in this cursed castle forever. Can you help him choose the correct key? Only the second key fits perfectly. Psst, you. Yeah, you. I really need your detective help with these riddles. Maria came to a beauty salon. She had 2 appointments, a manicure and a haircut. Suddenly, she realized that one of the professionals working there was dangerous. Who was it? The hairdresser with huge stained scissors and brushes in the pocket of her apron? Or the nail tech with a nail file and suspicious red stains on her uniform? Look at the manicurist more attentively. In her bag, you'll notice a knife, a rope, and a tape. She's definitely dangerous.
No.
Look at these people waiting for their flight at the airport. Can you figure out which of them is a dog owner? It's the man on the left, sitting on a bench and reading a book. Have you been attentive enough to notice he's got a bone in his bag? It must be a gift for his pooch. Now look at these guys. One of them is a zombie. Can you figure out which one it is? When you think about it, you'll understand that zombies are into brains, not computers. Plus, the guy on the right has a weirdly shaped palm, and he's looking at the other guy's head too intently. The gamer should watch out. Now, this might look like a lovely family portrait, but not all people depicted here are actually human. Can you figure out which family member is a ghost? Pay attention to the shadows. The man is the only person in this photo to have one. Sadly, the rest of his family are just ghosts. You've got to choose one room in which you'll have to spend 1 hour. One of the rooms is swarming with thousands of rats. Another is almost completely filled with water. And the last room is an infinite pool with jellyfish. Which room should you pick? The second room is the safest option. If you manage to stay close to the surface, you'll be able to breathe since there's a bit of space between the ceiling and the water.
Oh, yes.
Look at these hybrid animals. You're about to fight one of them. Think twice before picking your opponent. The wrong choice may cost you your life. Opt for the hybrid of a shark and a jaguar. Such a bizarre creature won't be able to breathe on dry land, and you'll just need to wait a bit before the jury announces your victory. So you've just moved to a new town. It's so small that there are just 2 barber shops there. The barber working in the first one has an impeccable haircut. The hair of the barber in the second establishment looks quite messy, and still, you choose to go to the second professional. Why? Well, if there are just 2 barbers in the town, it means the second barber gave the first one his perfect haircut. Look at these ladies attentively. All of them seem to be pregnant. But what if I tell you that one of them has just stolen a watermelon? Can you figure out who it is? The first lady has a visible belly button. The second one doesn't hold her belly at the moment, so it must be real. As for the third girl, she's holding her belly tightly, and we can see something green through her clothes. She must be the watermelon thief. Now let's check your logistical thinking and math skills. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups in such a way that each cup contains an odd number of cubes. All you need to do is put 3 cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second cup. After that, place the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. This way, the first cup will have 3 sugar cubes, which is an odd number. The second cup will have 3 sugar cubes too. As for cup number 3, it will contain 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 from the second cup. You have a box with multicolored marbles. All but 2 of them are red, all but 2 are blue, and all but 2 are green. How many marbles are there in the box? There are just 3 marbles in the box, blue, green, and red. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has twice fewer brothers and sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 boys in the family. Once, a man decided to go on a fishing trip with his friends. He asked his wife to pack some things for him: a fishing rod, a fishing box, some clothes that would be enough for a week, and his favorite pajamas. The wife did so. After the man returned, he entertained his wife with funny stories about what had happened during the trip. Suddenly, he asked why his wife hadn't packed his pajamas. The wife immediately understood that her husband was lying to her. He hadn't been on a fishing trip. How did she understand that? The woman put the pajamas in the fishing box. And if her husband didn't find it, it means he didn't open the fishing box. What a weird fishing trip that was. Jack is participating in a challenge. He's made it to the last stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. Jack needs to get a key out of one of 4 pots. On top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl covering the fourth pot. Now Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls to the ground or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put out the fire with sand and get the key. Camilla was afraid of dogs. One day, while jogging in the park, she noticed a large dog sitting near the bench. It looked unfriendly. The leash attached to the dog's collar was 3 feet long. Camilla decided it would be safe to pass by if there were at least 7 feet of space between her and the animal. But even on a leash, the dog still managed to bite her. How come? Well, the leash wasn't tied to anything. Kevin, a security guard in an amusement park, found a boy standing near a roller coaster. The kid said his name was Nick. He didn't know where his father was. Kevin took Nick to his office and made an announcement. Soon after that, 2 men showed up at the door. The first exclaimed that he and his son had been in a cafe. But after eating his burger, the man felt so unwell he had to spend almost 20 minutes in the bathroom. When he got out, his son wasn't around. The other man interrupted him, saying that he had ridden a roller coaster with his son. Then he left the boy to wait there and went to get some hot dogs. Which man was Nick's father? Nick is too young to ride that roller coaster. Look at that sign stating that only those older than 14 are allowed to have a ride. It means the second man is lying. The boy's dad is the unlucky guy with food poisoning. A bank manager was missing. The only suspicious thing the police found was a note left on his office desk. There were 4 numbers on it. His colleagues, John, James, and Otto, claimed they had nothing to do with this disappearance. But the police thought otherwise. Who did they suspect? When you write the word 1, it starts with the letter O. 2 starts with T, and so does 3. Then we have 1 again. That's the letter O. Together, we have the name Otto. And finally, a funny riddle might help you relax. Why should you never trust gravity? Because gravity will always let you down. Have a good one!
Karen is at a corporate party. Her boss, Mia, brings a bunch of identical envelopes and says, "I personally put the grand prize in one of these envelopes. It's a certificate for a trip to Bali. But no worries, the remaining envelope contains consolidation prizes prepared by our sponsors. Can you help Karen win the trip to Bali?" There's a lipstick print on this envelope. Mia has a similar lip color. She said that she had personally packed only 1 envelope, so the grand prize should be here. The day of Karen's flight to Bali has finally come. She calls a taxi to the airport. Soon, 3 identical taxis arrive at her porch. But only one of these drivers can actually give Karen a safe ride. Can you guess who? The second car has a flat tire, and the driver of the third taxi is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws. It's a full moon, so he'll turn into a wolf soon. Therefore, Karen should choose the first taxi. Karen's luggage is too heavy, so she goes to the cash register to pay for the excess. Oh no, her card holder is gone. Karen asks 3 people standing nearby, "Have you seen a pink card holder?" The cleaner says, "I found 2 lost wallets today, but none of them look like yours." The cashier says,
I was busy with another customer, so I didn't look around.
And another passenger says, "Don't waste time, honey. Block your cards as soon as possible." Who stole the wallet? Nobody. Karen put it in the fold of her hat and forgot it there. See? On the plane, the steward asks Karen to switch seats with another passenger. Karen can choose one of these 3 seats. Can you help her figure out the best option? This man has very long legs, so he'll probably kick the back of Karen's chair all along. The second option is next to this elegant lady, but she's stealing money from another passenger. Probably not the best company for a long-hour flight. Although the third guy looks like a vampire, it's just a costume. He's sitting by the window, but the sun rays don't bother him, so he's the best option. Karen arrives at a fancy hotel in Bali. The manager shows her the 3 best bungalows to choose from, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Karen to make the best choice? The first bungalow doesn't have a door, which makes Karen an easy target for robbers and mosquitoes. And there's a scorpion under the bed in the third bungalow, so she should choose the second one. On the beach, Karen meets 3 ladies who claim to be millionaires and show her pictures to prove it. But one of them is fake rich. Can you guess who? It's the first lady. She's just modeling for an electric toothbrush commercial, so her luxury is artificial. Karen is walking down the shore and sees a party. It's a beach wedding, so the bride and groom don't wear traditional costumes. Can you find the newlyweds among these people? Take a look at the cake. The letters say Harry plus Amy. This lady is wearing a necklace with the name Amy, so she's the bride. And now, look at the flower garland around her neck. Only one person is wearing the identical garland, this guy, so he's probably the groom. Karen spots her former classmate, Tom, among the guests. He's talking to a strange lady. The lady is wearing a hoodie and standing with her back turned to Karen, so Karen can't see her face. Tom and the lady leave together and hide from everyone on the roof of the beach restaurant where the party takes place. Later that night, Karen also visits the roof. There's no one else here, but after checking the roof, Karen knows for sure which of these 3 ladies is Tom's secret girlfriend. How did she know? The third lady's dress is decorated with gold sequins. She lost one sequin on the roof. Tom sees Karen and invites her for a walk along the shore. She spots 4 weird things right away. Can you see them too? A mermaid is hiding in the waves. This sandcastle has electric lighting. Tree branches flutter in the wind to the right, but the flags to the left. And finally, the moon has a creepy face. The next morning, Karen goes to the buffet breakfast. She wants to get a smoothie, but there's no information about the ingredients in English. Unfortunately, Karen is allergic to strawberries. Can you figure out which smoothies are safe for her? It's all about the color. Only the green and yellow smoothies don't contain any strawberries for sure. Other options are risky. Karen enters a spa center. The manager asks her to wait for 15 minutes. Karen takes a seat and falls asleep. She wakes up after a while and finds out that someone had given her a heart-shaped tattoo. She questions 3 suspects. Bobby, the client, says, "Lady, I've just arrived on my motorbike. If I see any crazy tattoo artists around here, I'll tell you." Leah says, "I've been cleaning the bathroom within the last 30 minutes. And Tony, the massage therapist, says, "Sorry, I was busy with my client, so I didn't look at you at all." Who's lying? Bobby, this motorbike has flat tires, and besides, it was already there when Karen entered the spa. Luckily, the tattoo was temporary, and the massage therapist helped Karen to remove it, but he charged her $5 for his help. Karen arrived at the spa during happy hours when they offer a 45% discount on all services, so Karen paid only $12 for a 1-hour massage. Also, she had a pedicure for $7. When Karen left, she found a $50 bill on the ground. How much money did Karen spend in total? Can you count? Karen spent a total of $24. As for this $50 bill, it's fake, so it doesn't make any difference. Karen brings her clothes to the local laundry owned by 3 sisters. She returns to pick up her stuff in 5 hours. Unfortunately, someone has burned her favorite dress with an iron. Karen gets furious and questions the sisters. Mia says, "I didn't iron today, it must be Pia." Pia says,
Nah, I was planting roses in the garden all day. It must be Gia.
and Gia says, "I don't know who's guilty because I've been away all day." Who burned Karen's dress? It was Pia. Take a look at the garden. Can you see any roses? Exactly. Karen returns to her hotel room and finds a huge bouquet in a vase. The note says, "Love, your secret admirer." Karen calls the reception to find out more. The manager says, "One of the hotel's male guests ordered the flowers, but I can't reveal his name." Only 3 male guests stay in this hotel at the moment: Hans, Jacques, and Will. Karen meets them all at the beach and spots her secret admirer right away. Do you have any clue who it might be? Karen received pink lilies. Take a look at Hans's shirt. It has a print with pink lilies. He loves these flowers, but this doesn't prove anything. Will has a tan line from a wedding ring, and he's taking pictures of his wife surfing. But Jacques is writing in the sand, and his handwriting looks suspiciously similar to the love note. Spotted! Karen and Jacques go for a walk. He brings her to a pier with 3 boats. Jacques says, "If you manage to guess where my boat is, I'm going to give it away to you." Can you help Karen find the right answer? Someone's sleeping on the second boat, but this doesn't mean that the person is the owner. The third boat is called Jacques, but this name is quite popular. Let's take a closer look at the first boat. Can you see the red trousers on a hanger? They match perfectly with Jacques' jacket. Therefore, this is his boat. Autumn was walking around the neighborhood and found a cat. She put posters all over the place looking for its owner. 2 people came and claimed that the cat was theirs. Can you figure out who the real owner is? Both people have scratches and cat hair on their clothes, so they must both own a cat. But the cat Autumn found has red fur. This woman right here is the only one with red cat hairs on her clothes. So she must be the real owner. Aurora failed an exam and her mother grounded her. Aurora was supposed to stay at home for 2 weeks. No parties, no friends, just her and physics. Mrs. Adams was a nurse and she worked long shifts. One evening, she came back home after 18 hours at work. She walked into Aurora's room and asked her what she'd been doing all day. "Studying, Mom," replied Aurora and pointed at her physics books. Mrs. Adams didn't believe her and asked her who had come over. How did she figure it out? Look, there are 2 cups in Aurora's room. Both of them have lipstick stains. One stain has the same shade as Aurora's lipstick, but the other is different. Someone else had been drinking tea with Aurora that evening before Mrs. Adams came back home. The police are looking for a vampire who repeatedly moved to the neighborhood a couple of weeks ago. They need to identify him to keep an eye on him. They have 3 suspects. Here are the photos of them. Can you guess which one is the vampire? This person is tanned. It means that he goes out in the sun, which vampires never do. This woman is wearing a silver necklace. Vampires are afraid of silver, so she went out too. So this last person is probably the vampire. Bonnie is a little spider competing in a spider championship, and she got into the finals. In the final round, she's competing with last year's champion, King Weber. The final round is a walk on a spider's web that stretches between 2 cliffs. There are 5 intersecting strands, coming from one point on the other side. Bonnie and Weber begin 2 spaces from each other. She starts first, and her task is to catch Weber in 10 moves. Now, the rules. Every competitor can move from one intersection to an adjacent hub where 2 strands cross, 1 space at a time. No one can create new paths. Only one competitor can move at a time, and they take turns walking. No one can skip their turn. Help Bonnie come up with a strategy to catch King Weber in 10 moves. The first thing we need to pay attention to is that Bonnie is 2 spaces away from King Weber. So no matter what move Bonnie makes, King Weber will be able to maintain the 2-space distance, and she won't be able to get closer to him. But there's a way to change it. There's this point where the strands converge, and this is the key. Let's visualize the web and color the intersections blue and red in a checkerboard pattern. I mean the pattern where the squares of the same color don't border. The point where the strands meet can't be colored either of these colors, so let's color that one green. So now, Bonnie stands at red. Every time she changes her color location from red to blue, King Weber will then change it in the same way, always staying 2 moves away from her. So, if she doesn't change the situation, this will go on, and she won't be able to win. The only place where Bonnie can break this pattern is that one green point. So, she shouldn't waste any moves and go straight there. It will take her 4 moves to end up in the green spot. Since King Weber started at a red point, after 4 moves, he will be at one of the red points again. Now, Bonnie has to break the pattern so that with every move, they're at 2 different colors. Because then, there's a possibility to end up at the adjacent ones. Bonnie should move to one of the strands with a red point. King Weber will then be at a blue one with his next move. Even better, he can't now move to any of the blue hubs near Bonnie. So, he will be forced to move away to some other blue points. Now the algorithm for choosing the correct move is this. Bonnie should assess how far away Weber is from her horizontally and vertically, and then cut the larger number. King Weber will still have hubs where he can't move, so he'll be forced to move away, backing into one of the 2 corners. And that's where Bonnie will get him. Let's take a little break and solve some emoji riddles. And the topic is movies. I'll show you a combination of emojis, and your task is to guess the movie. Ready? Here's the first one. Yes, this one is easy. It's The Lord of the Rings. Okay, a new one for you, a bit harder. What's your guess? Well, it wasn't really that hard. It's Forrest Gump, a classic. What about this one? probably the most famous franchise. This is Star Wars, of course. I'll give you a hint. This is an animated movie. Yes, of course, it's Coco. Okay, the last movie for today. Can you guess it? It's Transformers. Now, back to solving cases. A rich lady, Mrs. Harrington, went on a sea cruise. The voyage was pleasant, but one night there was a storm. During the commotion, Mrs. Harrington got robbed. Her diamond necklace and rings disappeared right from her neck and hands. The main suspect was Brian, a young man traveling in the economy class. Someone had seen him on the deck circling around Mrs. Harrington. Detective Callum happened to be on the cruise too, and he interrogated Brian, but the man denied stealing anything. The ship was rocking, and I couldn't stay on the deck, so I was in my cabin writing a letter to my wife. Here's the letter. You can read it if you want to. Detective Callum concluded that Brian was lying. Why did he think so? The ship was rocking during the storm, and it must have been hard to write anything. Still, the letter is written neatly, which is impossible when everything around is swinging and shaking. Ayla was traveling by plane for the first time and was very excited. She was going to Florida to visit her grandma. 2 hours into the flight, Ayla went to the bathroom. When she returned, she noticed that her tablet had disappeared. She immediately reported it to the flight attendant. Ayla's neighbor said he'd been sleeping and hadn't seen anything. The neighbor across the aisle said he'd been talking to his friend on the phone, so he hadn't seen anything either. And one more passenger said she hadn't left her seat. The flight attendant stopped interrogating people because she figured out who was lying. Who was it? The second person. They're on a plane. There's no connection, and no one is supposed to talk on the phone. An accident happened at a birthday celebration in a club. Damon, a sophomore, found Eleanor in the ladies' bathroom with a concussion. He called the police, and the girl was taken to the hospital. The police arrived and asked the boy what had happened. I don't know Eleanor that well. We have one class together. I was upstairs at the party talking to my friends and then just went to the bathroom and found her there. I called you immediately. The officers took Damon to the police station for further investigation. What was so suspicious in this story? Eleanor was in the women's bathroom. What was Damon doing there?
It was Emmanuel's dream to become the greatest detective in the world. But to do that, he needed to get accepted to the International Detective Academy. On their entrance exam, they wanted to test the visual perception skills of the potential students. So they gave students 3 images and asked them to find out what was wrong with them. The one who spotted the abnormality the fastest would get in. Here's the first image. Can you help Emmanuel out? The clock on the wall says it's 12 p.m., but the window view suggests it's sunset time. That doesn't add up, even if it's noon or midnight. Here's the second image. What's wrong here? The lady sitting at this table appears to be reading a book, but she's holding it upside down. And the last image. Spot the weird thing real quick. The picture on the wall is supposed to be a historical portrait, but the queen on it is holding a cell phone in her right hand. The county detective agency got a call from the sheriff's office. A criminal who had been in prison for a few months had escaped the jail. They were able to chase her until she blended in with the crowd at the venue where the annual Iron Lady competition was taking place. The president of the agency wanted to test the new recruit, Michelle, so he sent her to find the criminal without giving any information about what she looked like. Once Michelle arrived at the venue, two suspicious-looking ladies competing on the weightlifting stage caught her eye. Can you help Michelle identify which one is the criminal? It must be the lady on the right with the long hair and dark brown roots. Since she was in prison for a few months, she wouldn't be able to dye her hair there. Arya, a brave knight, was seeking the enchanted sword to save her kingdom from a cyclops. However, it was guarded by an ancient dragon who loved to play games. When Arya finally made it to the top of the Misty Mountains where the sword was, the dragon greeted her and said, "Only the one who answers my riddle is worthy of wielding the sword. Tell me, what is it that given one? You either have two or none." The answer is a choice. Van Pulsing was a famous monster hunter. One day, he got a call from a couple who were the owners of an old mansion. They claimed that there were monsters occupying their home, hiding in plain sight and making them live in fear. They wanted Van Pulsing to free their house from them. He said they should continue their usual day, and he would observe where the monsters could be. Take a look at the bedroom. Can you spot the monster? Here, this is not a human hand. Where could the monster be hiding in this portrait room? Do you see Van Pulsing's shadow on the ground? It looks totally different from him. That must be some other shadow monster. Where's the monster in this reading room? Look at these candles here. The flames are eye-shaped. That must be a fire monster. The main ice sculpture at the Winter Festival was mysteriously melted hours before the grand opening. Angelica, the event planner, got suspicious of three participants: Derek, who was setting up food stalls, Olivia, in charge of decorations, and Sam, who was nowhere to be found earlier. Can you help her figure out who sabotaged the sculpture? See the small temperature arranging box directly below the sculpture area? It is password protected. And look at Olivia's palm. There are numbers written on it, which appear to be some sort of a password. It must be her who tampered with the system to melt the sculpture. Jared and Rita were going camping in the woods and had to choose a site to set up their tent. There were three differing camping areas available: Emerald Forest Camping, Firefly Mountain Campgrounds, and Starlight Lake Campsite. Can you help them decide which spot is the best? Look at this tree in Emerald Forest Camping. There's a bear hiding there. This option is definitely a dangerous one. Firefly Mountain Campgrounds is located next to a rocky hill. These loose stones and sharp rock edges pose a great risk. So they should pick the Starlight Lake campsite. A famous sculpture went missing from the art school gallery. Detective Joshua was informed that there were 3 students who were last seen near the gallery. Alexandra claimed that she was sketching in her notebook. Beckett said he was in a pottery class, and Caleb said he was reading in the library. Detective Joshua could immediately tell who had the missing statue. Can you? Check out Alexandra's sketchbook. Among her sketches, there's a detailed drawing of the missing sculpture, suggesting she took it to study and draw from it. The Museum of Art was doing a special exhibition of a very famous modern painting. There was a rumor that on the day of the gala, the artist who painted it was also going to be there. However, no one knew what they looked like because they were keeping their face a mystery to the public, and only the curators knew what they looked like. James was an art student and was a big fan of this painting. He had an invitation to the gala and was determined to meet the artist. Take a look at these 3 guests. Who do you think might be the artist of the painting behind them? We already know the name of the artist from their signature on the painting. It's Ali. Now, even though the second guy here is holding an exhibition brochure with the same signature, look at the tag he has on his jacket. It says he's the curator, so he already knows what the artist looked like, and he's just another fan. Now, check out the third lady. She's holding a red-colored pen, just like the color of the signature on the brochure. She must be the one who signed it, so she's the mysterious artist. It was snowing a lot that winter. Penny, the police officer, was on duty at the Commonwealth neighborhood. During one of her regular patrols, she noticed a suspicious-looking man who was carrying 2 bags full of stuff. When she asked him what he had in them, he said they were clothes for donation. Still, Officer Penny arrested him. Why? Look at the footprints on the snow. He left the house through the window after robbing it. If he lived there, he would rather use the door. Ellie went to the beach on a hot summer day. As she was placing her towel and umbrella on the sand, she noticed someone had dropped their diamond ring. She went to the beach guard and asked him to announce if anybody was missing their ring. After the announcement, 3 people, Jennifer, Shelley, and Marie, came and said the ring belonged to them. Can you help them figure out who is telling the truth? Take a look at Marie's ring finger on her left hand. She has a tan line there. She must have been sunbathing when she dropped her diamond ring. Bernie was working in Los Angeles, and his girlfriend Deborah was working in Austin, Texas. She was living alone in a studio apartment. They loved each other very much and talked all the time. They were keeping their long-distance relationship alive by exchanging photos every day. But one day, after Bernie received 3 photos from Deborah, he immediately called her and said everything was over between them. Can you tell why? In the bathroom photo, there are 2 toothbrushes, even though she lives alone. In the living room photo, there is a man's shoe on the floor next to the door. And in the kitchen photo, on the planner on the fridge, Tuesday is circled. And inside the circle, it says, "Date night with James." Deborah is clearly cheating on Bernie.
Jennifer had an epic quarrel with her best friend Alice and decided to go hiking without her. After a long walk, she chose a place to settle down for the night. The next morning, she got out of the tent and found out that all her food supplies were gone.
Oh.
Take a look at the picture. Can you guess who stole the food? Although there are hair footprints all over the ground, these animals are too small to untie and carry away such a large bag of food. Alice followed Jennifer to prank her, but she forgot her hairband at the crime scene. Can you find a four-leaf clover in this pattern? Here it is. Peter got tired of big city life and moved to a quiet village. He opened a small coffee shop. His place gained popularity among local farmers and tourists very quickly. But one night, someone broke into the coffee shop and robbed it. Peter interrogated 4 suspects. Dylan said he'd been out of the city that night. Leia had been cleaning her room all night. Vanessa said she'd been rehearsing a dance for the upcoming New Year's performance, and Jason had been taking care of his cattle. Who's lying? Vanessa, look at these blooming flowers in the field. It's summertime. It's too early for New Year's rehearsals. Vicky got on a bus. But suddenly, she ran out screaming, "There's a zombie in there!" Who is a zombie? It's the driver. Take a look at his arm. Fred is a fitness coach. He bought a pack of peanut butter cookies on the way to his office. He couldn't eat them inside the building since his boss, Mia, had a really bad peanut allergy. Plus, his current clients were on a sugar-free diet for a week. So, Fred took a couple of bites and hid the remaining cookies in his locker. When Fred opened the pack during the next break, it was empty. He questioned the clients. Chris said he'd been talking to his mother. Pam went out to get some fresh air. Jason helped Mia serve peanut butter sandwiches and coffee. And Kelly was busy eating her fruit salad. Who's lying? Jason. Mia has a peanut allergy. She wouldn't have come close to peanut butter sandwiches. Can you guess the word by these emojis? It's iPhone. What about this combination? It's airline. And what about these emojis? That's a coffee break. Let's try another one. It's bad luck. What about this combination? A starfish. What about these emojis? Cornbread. How about these 2 emojis? Right, that's sunlight. Let's try another one. Sunglasses. Can you find a snowman among these pandas? Here it is. Can you find a rabbit among all these cats? This little guy over here. Someone robbed a bank last night. Its manager doesn't want the clients to know about it, so he hasn't told any details to the press yet. The police have found 3 suspects. All of them have been previously accused of similar robberies. The police officer asked, "What were you doing when the robbery happened?" Stacy claimed she'd gone to bed at 11 p.m. Dan said, "I was bowling with my friends between 1 and 2 a.m. Ryan said he had spent the whole night in a hospital with his granny. Who robbed the bank? It was Dan. The police officer didn't mention when exactly the robbery had happened. Then how did he know it? Kelly was walking alone in the forest. She found a picturesque spot and began to record a dance for her TikTok, But suddenly, she fell into a cave. Kelly looked around and noticed 4 doors. There were hungry lions behind the first door. Venomous insects were hiding behind the second door. Behind the third door, there was a tunnel that was on fire. And there were live wires behind the fourth door. Which way is safe? The fourth door is the safest. There's enough space for Kelly to crawl under the wires. Can you find a panda among these people? It's over there. Miss Green recently got the job of a college teacher. She decided to start her first class with a small test. The woman watched her students during the test very attentively and noticed that 3 of them were cheating. Who? Look at this guy's knee. And this young lady is holding a book under her desk. And this young man over here has a bottle with the answers written on it. Can you find the odd emoji? Something is wrong with this guy's teeth. Harry woke up in a creepy abandoned hospital. He searched the area and only found an old cart. He went further and saw 4 doors, but there were dangers lurking behind each of these doors. Angry werewolves were waiting behind the first one. The floor behind the second door was all covered with toxic acid. There was a wicked witch behind the third door, and there was a fire blazing behind the fourth door. What should Harry do? Harry should choose the second door and use the cart to get to safety. Can you find the odd fish? Here it is. Gemma decided to follow her dreams and move to a cute house in a small village. She found several boxes in the basement and organized a garage sale to sell that stuff. Gemma put up an ad, everything for $1. Leah bought an old chess set, Peter purchased a mirror, and Daniel bought an old jewelry box. When they left, Gemma's neighbor came over and told her that she'd made a mistake. She had just sold a very expensive thing for a song. What item did she mean? Not the chess set because it's made of plastic, and not the mirror because it's cracked. She meant the jewelry box. Look at how Daniel is carrying it. The thing's heavy and probably filled with expensive stuff. Can you find the odd emoji? Here it is. Peter and Wendy had a picnic in a beautiful park. Suddenly, it started raining and they hid in their car. That's when Wendy noticed she had left her phone outside. Peter returned to the picnic spot but found no phone. Luckily, the thief couldn't get far. So, Peter entered the nearest cafe to check the customers. He saw 3 people inside. The guy immediately figured out who had taken the phone. Can you guess who the thief is? It's the second guy. He's the only one with wet hair and clothes. On his birthday, Jason invited 3 friends on a hiking trip. They found a beautiful wild beach and decided to stay there for the night. In an hour, one of Jason's friends disappeared. They separated to search for him, and the other 2 friends also vanished. Can you guess what happened? Jason's friends decided to prank him. They're waiting for him with a birthday cake on a boat. Mary had just returned from a 2-day business trip. She's starving, so she rushes to the kitchen. She opens the fridge to get some snacks. Can you help Mary throw away spoiled food? This apple has gone bad. Some weird loud sounds woke Emily in the middle of the night. She ran to her roommates' bedrooms to check on them. Both Mia and Sam were sound asleep. In the morning, Emily found out that their house had been robbed. Mia said that she'd been sleeping and hadn't heard anything suspicious. Sam said that he had returned from a party very late and had fallen asleep immediately. Can you guess what happened? The robber entered the house through Sam's window and pretended to be Sam when Emily came to check on her roommate. And the real Sam returned from the party way later that night. Can you figure out who this dog belongs to? The dog's owner is the woman in the middle. She's the only one who's not trying to pet the dog. What is the sum of these numbers? Four plus 17 plus 13 equals 34. George was returning home after a long day at work. He was walking through the park when somebody pushed him. He woke up in a well. The walls were too slippery to climb out of it, and he couldn't reach the bucket. Luckily, the guy found the solution. Can you guess how George escaped? He took off his shoes and threw them back into the bucket. The added weight brought the bucket down, and George used it to climb out of the well and escape. An old king doesn't have an heir, but he still has to choose a successor to take care of the country. So he gathered all young men and women in his kingdom and gave each of them a seed. "The person who will grow the largest plant will inherit the throne," he said. 3 months later, all the participants came back to the palace to show their plants. After the king looked at them, he chose a young lady with an empty pot. Why did he pick her? The king gave the participants fake seeds. The woman was the only honest person who didn't try to cheat. There are 3 sticks. Can you make 4 out of them without breaking any stick? Here you go. A man was doing some repairs and accidentally fell from the roof of a 12-story building. He was not wearing a parachute, but he still survived the fall. How? He landed on a balcony on the 11th floor. Mr. Tyler is a college professor. He teaches history, and his students like his classes very much. But one day, they decided to surprise Mr. Tyler and put on mummy costumes before his class. When Mr. Tyler saw them, he yells and runs away. Why? This guy over there is a real mummy. He's levitating and there's flies around him.
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the 3rd floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, there's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place unless they're an Addams Family member. In the 3rd hotel only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the 2nd hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the second ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the third ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the second chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The third dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only one. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The second ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The gemstone on the third ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the first ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge, but the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift, but all 3 claimed that they were the artist who had created it. 2 of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted 3 suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these 3 guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny, that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted 3 people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot. Ha ha!" Then two Jennies appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, in the Caribbean. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbean and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp.